So the whole world is going into lockdown. More and more countries are shutting down really because of coronavirus. And people are in self-isolation, as am I. So I thought I would use this unpredicted amount of time to finish off a project I started ages ago. Now, to put a bit of backstory into it, what I did was about 4 years ago I had to buy a new amp, as the amp I was using at the time in the band I was in broke. And the amp I was looking at getting was the Blackstar ID Core, the 150 watts, but they didn't have it in stock at the time and I wasn't leaving empty-handed. So I brought the VT100x by VOX, which is a modelling amp with a valve preamp. Beastie, that's all I can say. However, I wasn't a fan of the speaker that was in it. I just felt it was a bit, not brittle, but a bit muddy. It just didn't really project project any form of sound that the amp could create, really. I mean, if you put the headphones in, it's always a different story, but it just sounded wrong. But to make matters worse, there was a leak in the lockup we was using, which means, you know, something's going to happen. And what happened? It went on my amp. The leak landed on my amp. Luckily, the electronics inside was fine, but the cab itself was not. Yeah, the cab got destroyed. It was warped. It absorbed so much water. So I had to build a new cab, and that's when ideas started to happen. And that's what I want to show you now, and this is what I want to finish off. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get out of the way and show you what I made. So, yeah. So, this is the amp. And straight away you can see that it is a Line 6 cab. Now, one thing I didn't know about these cabs was that they're actually smaller than most other cabs. So if you've ever been to a rehearsal studio, if you're lucky, they generally just have Marshalls. But these are actually slightly smaller, which I didn't realise. But it's a 4x12 cab, but you can probably see through the gaps that there's 2 speakers in and 2 that aren't in. Now, I did used to use this setup with the band for a little bit, but it was still using the speaker that came with the VOX amp. So I never actually got to use it with what's inside of it now. But you're probably wondering, where is the amp? Now, the thing I liked about the VT series, well, quite a lot of the VOX amps is that they're top facing, which means, if I just come over here, put a little bit of light on, which means that these, like, panel basically is at the top, so if you're gigging, you don't have to like lean forward at the amp, you know. We've all been there when you've got to crouch down. It's not very rock starish, is it? But the ID core was exactly the same, where everything loads on the top, which I loved really. But because I have to buy a new amp, or a new cab, the idea was to basically go a bit insane with it. I wanted to put more speakers in it anyway, because I thought maybe it's not powerful enough with the one speaker. But, you know, thoughts started going around. Thought maybe if I just build a cab for 2x12s or a 2x8, and I thought, why not just get the 4x12 cab? I picked it up for 20 quid. It's a bit bad. I mean, you know, you can see the damage on it there. You know, it's not the prettiest of amps or cabs even, but it works like a dream. Like I said, I've gigged with it a couple of times and it was brilliant. Like, it confused people a lot. Like, oh, can I plug into your cab? And I'm like, well, you can, but it's an amp. And like they were mesmerised by it, and it worked really well. It was surprisingly good, to be fair. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it around so you can see what's inside, and then once you see what's inside, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do next. Now, I am terrible at wiring things, so do not judge me. It works, that's the main thing. So that's points for me. So yeah, let's spin it around. Still haven't quite thought of a transition to do yet. Just going to high five again. So, the back of the cab. Nothing special. It's the back of the cab, really. So we've got the control panel, the back part for the on switch and the mains lead. We did have to cut another bit out, hence the tape. It just kind of masked up the woodwork. So we had to cut out the back via my dad because I cannot operate a saw. We've got the part for plugging in an amp head, which is what I want to do eventually. I've got one of the plugs in there, just need to get another one of the jacks, that is. But again, it works like an absolute treat. I've not been able to plug it in just yet. I mean, I had the speakers you're going to see, I had them on the one side, so I could try, and it did actually work. But it just means I've now got to buy my own amp head. But what we'll do, we'll open it up so I can show you what's inside. Excuse me. So, inside we have two speakers. The reason why I put them like this was so I can just see if I can get an even sound, really. But the aim is to get matching speakers. I'm just going to put a bit more light on. Because obviously the idea, I want to put speakers on either side, so once I do get the amp head, I can work it as a cab. So what I thought I'd do is just show you the speakers. I'll go for this one. So it's a Goodman power range, and it's a 50 watts, and it's 15 ohms, so it's a very, very powerful speaker. Got the matching one up tops. But, I mean, these are old speakers. I'm not sure what amp they came out of, as the guy I brought them from, he was an absolute legend, if I'm honest, but I really can't remember what he said. But this is the speaker that came out of the VT100. Now, these are the only markings on it. There was nothing else on top. It just says, what, X14702-05. I'm guessing that's when it was manufactured or something. 3 ohms. It did what it had to do, which was project sound. I just didn't like the sound it made. But I really don't know. I mean, do normal Vox speakers come without any labelling or anything? You tell me. As for the wiring, where am I? Excuse me, I've got an absolute horrendous cold. It's not coronavirus, I promise. Just zoom in there. So, I've wired, obviously, the green is positive, the black is negative, obviously. So, where is it? Can we get any more light in there? There we go. So, where am I? So, the black and white lead. Where are I? Oh, it's right there. I'm looking at the wrong part. Tell you what, it's definitely weird trying to operate a camera. So, that one just there where my blurry finger was, that's the audio leads for the speakers. And then they join up. And what I've tried to do is get it so, obviously black is negative, so that goes over there, green positive. I think I've wired it parallel. You guys would have to be the judge of that. The one way I did it sounded awful. It sounded absolutely horrendous. Like there was nothing coming through, like the power, like the volume was god awful low. But since wiring it this way, it's worked like an absolute treat. And that's really what I wanted to show you. Let's turn this light off. Really, that's what I wanted to show you, was my creation. Because we've got a load of time on our hands, no one knows how long it's going to last for. I thought I might as well carry on, really. What I'm going to do is, obviously, set it up so you can actually hear it. And I'll put the crap speaker back in it so you can hear what that sounds like. And maybe you'll see why I didn't like it. And I'll put the other two back in so you can hear them. Really, you can be the judge yourself to see if it's an idea worth it. I've never seen someone put an amp in a cab before, especially like that. But you know, let me know if you like it. Maybe I can build one for you. Either way, that's me done for this part. Next part is the sound test. That was a really bad transition. So for this test, we're using the two speakers I put in, which are the Goodmans. To record it, we're using, I don't actually know what mic it is, it's just one I've had lying around. It's just a standard dynamic mic. Going into my Focusrite, we've also got the Zoom recording the bottom speaker as well. We are using my custom built Hooker Customs guitar. It's a T-shape clearly. Not sure what the pickups are. They're not massively high output. They're pretty good for the blues. For that kind of old kind of hard rock kind of feel, I'll be using the Joyo wireless unit to, well, basically get the guitar to the amp. So let's go. So this is two speakers and we're in kind of a big distorted sound. that's the sound with the 2 speakers. So what I'm going to do is replace it with the speaker that came with it, which is this one, and we'll see the sound difference. And I'll be using the same settings as I've just used, hopefully try and play the same things as I just played. So, still haven't thought of a transition. Whoa! So now this is again same setup as last time. We are in a clean sound first. The only difference is now the speaker is the one that came with the Vox, so it's up here this time. So yeah, let's see what it sounds like. So I don't know if you heard that yourself, but I definitely heard something completely different from the first 2 speakers. I find this one just, I don't know, it just sounds muddy. It doesn't seem to pronounce the sounds very well. I mean, like I said, this isn't a heavy, like a high gain guitar, but the speaker that came with the original VOX VT100x, I dislike it straight away. But these 2, which is the old school Power Range ones by Goodman's, I am not complaining with, so well done to them. Well, that basically concludes that one. So the next aim for me is to maybe find another 2 of those, put them all in, so I've got a 4x12, give it a check then, see what it sounds like, get an amp head so I can see what it's like with an amp head. And overall, I think time in quarantine or lockdown, isolation, whatever you want to call it, I think it's going to be spent pretty well. So thank you, and still haven't figured out an ending transition, so I'm just going to do this.